Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's continue from the last recap.
That Chiwa is sick, and she has to go to work. Eita assures her that he'll look after her. Some minutes later, Chiwa wakes and finds Eita reading by her bedside. He then asks if she needs anything, and Chiwa requests a sponge bath. A few moments later, while Eita gives her a bath, Chiwa tells him to be gentle and adds that she's happy, since it's been a while since he visited her room. After this, she thanks him and decides to finish up the bath by herself. And just then, Eita finds some chopsticks and realizes they look familiar. So he asks Chiwa why she kept them. She had used the chopsticks the first time he cooked for her. So Chiwa explains that the memory will stay forever in her heart, even if he gets a girlfriend. On hearing this, Eita figures that Chiwa can't be the one sending him letters, since their connection doesn't need to be restored. Afterward, Chiwa asks Eita for a mouth-to-mouth too, and asks him to stay with her forever. However, he says she's breathing fine, and assures her that he's not leaving. The next morning, when Eita and Chiwa arrive at school, they run into Masuzu, so he greets her, but Chiwa gets jealous and accuses him of flirting early in the morning. In response, Masuzu calls Chiwa a homewrecker, and an argument ensues. Ignoring this, Eita checks his shoe locker and finds another letter. Shocked, he shuts the locker, surprising the ladies, who then ask if something was wrong, but he says it's all good. Later, when he reads the letter and discovers it's an invitation to the rooftop, he heads to the school roof and finds a girl named Hime waiting. Suddenly, she confesses her feelings for him using a game, but Eita states that they're meeting for the first time and they never had a connection. So, Hime explains that he's missing some memories from his past life and introduces herself. When Hime reveals their names in their past lives, Eita freaks out. Hime then hugs him tightly, but while Eita manages to break free and asks how she knows his name in his fantasy world, Hime reveals that she was there at the train station where he got beaten like a war drum. While Eita wonders if she's suffering from 8th grade syndrome, Chiwa and Masuzu arrive, finding Hime in his arms. So they ask him who his new catch is. Quickly, Eita tells Hime that no one can know about their previous life, and as the ladies approach them, they ask Hime who she is, and she reveals that she's Eita's ex, shocking everyone but herself. On hearing this, Masuzu starts taking notes of Eita's crimes, and when Hime asks him who the ladies are, Chiwa introduces herself as Eita's childhood friend, while Masuzu introduces herself as his current girlfriend. Suddenly, Hime throws a tantrum, claiming that Masuzu is hers to hug alone. Some moments later, Eita arrived at the club room and was welcomed with a surprise hug from Hime. So he asks what she's doing there, and Hime reveals that she was bonding with her successor. Annoyed, Eita asks Masuzu what she's up to, and she says she's swapping notes with his ex. Just then, Masuzu narrates every gibberish Hime told her about their previous lives, and adds that she's considering inviting Hime to join the club. Suddenly, Chiwa pops out of nowhere, saying she has an objection, since Hime only wants Eita's candy stick and doesn't care about being popular. However, Masuzu points out that she's also on the table she's trying to smash. As a rite of entry to the club, Masuzu presents a notebook to Hime and tells her to describe the type of maiden she'd like to become in a poem. However, Chua says that's too easy and suggests they make her attempt a toast attack that'll make her popular. Shortly after, Chiwa acts out a scenario where she bumps into a cute guy as a ditz, and while they use Eita as the makeshift cute guy, Hime chokes on a cookie and passes out. Immediately, some hall monitors arrive and bust them. Later, when Hime comes to, she asks Eita about Masuzu and Chiwa, but Eita states that they've been taken away by the hall monitors. He then takes the chance to ask why she's bent on making him her boyfriend, just because they were lovers in their previous lives. So, Hime narrates how she joined the school, hoping a new world would open to her, but to her dismay, her life remained as boring as usual, until Eita's great beatdown incident at the train station. When Hime comments on how he almost ended up in a wheelchair while fighting for a girl, Eita says that he was just immature. Confused, Hime asks what he means, so he explains that he has outgrown all that stuff. However, Hime disagrees and says that nothing can sever their connection to their past lives. While she pep talks him into believing he's still Captain America trapped in a scrawny-looking wimp, Masuzu and Chiwa eavesdrop outside the club room. Later, while they clean the pool as punishment for getting busted by the hall monitors, Chiwa asks Masuzu how she nearly drowned in the pool when it is so shallow. However, Masuzu evades the question and says she'd rather explain what Eita's lips tasted like. After this, Chiwa asks why Hime isn't helping them with the cleaning, and Masuzu says she's not a club member yet. Eita then chips in that Hime has been racking her brains to do the poem assignment because she really wants to join the club. Just then, Mana's car pulls up, drawing their attention, and while Chiwa comments on how expensive it looks, Mana steps out, but Masuzu isn't happy to see her. After they get over introductions, Mana comments that Chiwa looks cute. Impatient, Masuzu asks what she is doing at her school, and Mana explains that she came to apologize after making matters worse with their dad. She then announces that their dad is furious now and wants her back home immediately. When Masuzu's fighting spirit suddenly vanishes, Chiwa asks who the girl is, and Eita explains that she's Masuzu's little sister. Eita then asks Masuzu where her home is, but she says it's Sweden, and adds that she'll likely never return to the country. So, Masuzu breaks up with Eita on the spot, and tells him that she's leaving him for his childhood friend. Annoyed, Chiwa claims that Eita was always hers, but when Masuzu agrees and leaves, Chiwa goes after him, asking why she's not putting up a fight. Coincidentally, Hime arrives on the scene with her assignment, and informs Eita that she finished it, but Eita says she didn't have to bring it on a weekend. In response, Hime says she can't wait to join the club. Suddenly, Mana snatches the notebook from Hime, and when Eita tries to get it back, Mana hides behind her bodyguard. Curious to know what kind of club Masuzu runs, Mana opens the note to read while Eita tells her to give it back. So Mana starts reading Hime's writing out loud, making a joke of everything, while Hime grabs Eita and starts crying. Moved by this, Eita rushes to get the book back, but he gets treated like an obsessed fan trying to get a selfie. To make Hime feel better, Eita reveals that everyone has embarrassing imaginations, and he suddenly goes on and on about his fantasies. When he asks Mana to apologize to Hime, Mana says that he's annoying, so Masuzu arrives and tells her to stop since neither Eita nor Hime did anything wrong. She then tells Eita that he's bleeding and asks him to get it checked, but Eita says he's got one final request as her boyfriend. He then tells Hime that her poem was cute and helps her up, suggesting she put her poems into words since her book is gone. However, when Mana tries to interrupt, Eita shuts her up and calls her a bird-brained blonde. Pained by this, Mana orders her guard to fix him up, but when he approaches Eita, Hime shields him and tells Mana to fade off into the woodwork she crawled out of. Suddenly, the club members ask Masuzu if she'll just give up and leave, so Masuzu decides she's not leaving, surprising Mana, who then asks if she's really going against their dad. After this, Masuzu forces Mana to apologize to Hime, and tells her to inform their dad that she's not returning home. After they leave, Eita suggests they get back to cleaning the pool, but collapses afterward. Later in the club room, Masuzu tells Eita how dangerous it is to go against her family, but Eita says he doesn't care what her stupid family does, and adds that he can't deal with a breakup. Shocked, Masuzu reminds him that he's just a fake boyfriend, and leans on his shoulder. In that moment, Chiwa opens the room door and protests, while Hime shows up to submit her application to join the club. So, Masuzu approves her application, while Chiwa and Eita welcome her to the club. Sometime later, while they plan a summer trip, the hall monitor, barges in and announces that she's shutting down the club. Later on, Eita wakes up to an amazing view of plots at the school clinic, and on realizing they're Hime's, he hops out of bed and wonders what happened to her clothes. When Hime says it was her first time, Eita says she must be joking, so Hime hugs him while some ladies knock on the clinic door. Meanwhile, Eita asks Hime if she can help him escape while the ladies try to break into the clinic. So, Hime wraps herself up with a bedsheet and heads to the door to open it while Eita tries to stop her. On opening the door, Masuzu and Chiwa barge in looking for Eita, but to their surprise, he's nowhere to be found. So they ask Hime about his whereabouts, but she says she doesn't know. Meanwhile, Eita listens to the conversation from behind a curtain, hoping he stays hidden. When Masuzu says that she heard voices coming from the clinic earlier, Hime says it must have been the wind. Ignoring this, Masuzu heads towards the curtain where Eita is hiding, and just as she reaches for the curtain, Ai barges in, lecturing them on why the clinic isn't a playground. In response, Masuzu says she's horrible, but Ai fires back at her, berating them for influencing Hime, who used to be a model student. She then reminds them that their club has been shut down, pissing Chiwa off. So Chiwa says she's just jealous of their club because boys treat her like a museum exhibit, and she'll likely die single. This gets to Ai, so she furiously declares that she has a boyfriend. So Chiwa asks if her boyfriend attends their school, but Ai says she's not into boys her age and brags about her boyfriend, who's a college student in Tokyo and also a trust fund dude. After this, she adds that although it's a long-distance relationship, they text each other every day. Masuzu then asks for his name, and Ai says it's Michelle. Afterwards, the ladies gently take their L, and as they head out, Ai asks them if they'd seen Eita around. In response, They say he must have left early and ask Ahi what she wants from him. Startled, Ahi asks why they think she needs anything from him and leaves the room. Ahi had forced the club to shut down as she promised, and somehow, this makes Ada feel excited, since he now has less drama to deal with and can enjoy summer classes instead. However, on the first day of summer classes, he runs into Ahi, who then asks why he's there. In response, Eita says he came for the summer school, and when Adi asks what class he's in, she realizes they're in the same class. Suddenly, she screams in excitement, making everyone wonder if she needs some mental therapy. She then pretends to be pissed about being in the same class, and asks why he's trying to be friends with her when they are sworn enemies, so she takes her leave to avoid getting infected with the club virus. After this, Kaoru shows up and reveals that he was once Ahi's classmate back in elementary school. Later that day, Ada and Chiwa chat while having dinner, and she says she regrets skipping summer classes just because she won't get to spend time with Ada every day. After this, Chiwa asks Ada if he'd like to go to a fireworks event with her, but he says he can't because he needs to study. Later that night, Ida gets a voicemail from Masuzu telling him to meet her at a cafe alone if he wants his notebook back, and threatening to make him go viral if he refuses. Some moments later, he arrives at the cafe panting, while Masuzu lectures him about punctuality. When Ada says he had to run all the way, Masuzu berates him for being useless, surprising Ada, who then asks why she won't let him off the hook. In response, Masuzu says it's just two of them, so she's free to be as toxic as possible. She then accuses Ada of rubbing cheeks with Aji at summer school, and while he wonders how she knows, Masuzu tells him to dig up some dirty laundry on her. When Ada asks why, she says she needs it to get the club back and to keep the hall monitors on a leash. After this, she reveals that she did a little investigation and realizes that none of Ai's classmates are aware of her boyfriend's existence. Masuzu then points out that Ahi probably came up with her imaginary boyfriend on the spot to save herself from embarrassment, so she asks Ada to dig up evidence to prove this. The next day, during lunch, Kaoru sits with Ada and comments on how the boys won't stop flocking around Ahi. Meanwhile, Ada recalls how ticked off she looks and figures she probably has a boyfriend. Afterwards, Kaoru starts what seems like an ad campaign for Ahi, asking Eita if he thinks she's cute. But Eita misses the cue and asks Kaoru if he's crushing on Ahi. Annoyed, Kaoru states that Ahi has someone she likes and runs out of the cafeteria to drag Ahi over to the table. Kaoru then tries to get Aji to greet Ada, but she acts weird. So Kaoru reveals that they go way back and adds that Aji moved away in 5th grade and returned to town recently. After this, Ada asks Ahi why she's glaring at him, but she says she has no reason to. At this point, Kaoru whispers in her ear, saying she'll stop helping her, so Ahi apologizes. Kaoru then asks her to present her gift, so she unwraps a plate of packed food and tells Ada to enjoy. After looking closely to ensure there are no mines hidden in the plate, he tastes the meal and says it tastes good. Mind blown by this, Ahi screams and runs out of the cafeteria, while Ada wonders if she's got some screws loose. When Kaoru starts putting in a good word for his awkward friend, Ada points out that she has a boyfriend named Michelle, surprising Kaoru. Later that day, Kaoru and Ahi approach Ada to suggest they grab dinner together. Afterwards, while they chat at a diner, Ada points out that Ahi has a thing for rules, since she goes everywhere in her uniform, but Kaoru interrupts and tells Ahi to spill. Just as she's about to confess that Michelle isn't real, Chiwa shows up and asks Ai to complete her sentence. Surprised, Ada asks if she's stalking them, but she explains that she's on her way to a steakhouse with her parents when she saw them and stopped to say hi. When Chiwa starts interrogating Ahi, Ada says that Ahi can't lie about having a boyfriend. Surprised, Chiwa berates Ada for taking sides with the ops. However, Ada defends Ahi and asks her if he's wrong, so she plays along, telling more lies about Michelle. Just then, Hime arrives and says she wants to hear more about Michelle. So Ahi tells her lies so well and makes Hime designate her as a love master. Some days later, Ada and Masuzu meet up, and she asks him about his investigation. Ada then reports that Ahi has a boyfriend because she bragged about what she wears on dates with him and told their love story. Feeling skeptical, Masuzu says it's not valid proof, but Ada points out that she has trust issues. In response, Masuzu apologizes and says that after living as a fake for so long, she's lost her ability to trust people. However, Ada disagrees, stating that she won't be in the club with Chiwa and Hime if she really can't trust anyone. When he adds that she helps people get popular because she trusts them and tells her to start trusting herself, Masuzu rewards him with a kiss. Surprised, Ada asks what it's for, and Masuzu says it's his reward for using his brain for the first time. Some days later, Eita still feels the impact of the kiss on his chin, and thinks of Masuzu's order to continue his investigation. Suddenly, Kaoru and Ai show up, startling Eita as they ask if he'd like to get some drinks with them. Kaoru then suggests they try somewhere new, and says that Ai could go anywhere as long as it's with Eita. After freaking out and hitting Kaoru for her comments, Ai makes it clear to Eita that she's only gracing him with her presence. Later that day, Chiwa asks Eita if he's spying for Masuzu, but he says he's only finding a way to stop the club from being shut down. On noticing that Chiwa has gone silent, Eita checks what she's up to and realizes she's fixated on a love charm magazine and checking out the steps on how to make a guy fall in love. When Eita points out that it's a waste of time, Chiwa asserts that it works, so Eita suggests she give it a try, and Chiwa decides to start by avoiding her favorite food for 5 days. A few moments later, Eita serves dinner, and Chiwa gets excited. The next day, Eita spots Ai stalking him, and when he steps out, he finds Kaoru and Ai there. After Kaoru greets Eita, she asks Ai to greet him too, so she pretends she's seeing him for the first time. A few moments later, Kaoru shows Eita a fireworks event flyer, and Ai wishes she could watch from a secret spot. Ai then asks Eita if he's going to the event with Masuzu or Chiwa, but Eita says that they invited him and he turned her down. Hearing this, Adi lights up, surprising Eita so much that he falls off his chair. Just then, Adi asks Eita who he's going to see the fireworks with while checking herself out in a mirror. To her surprise, Eita says he won't be going at all, since he intends to spend the time studying. While she persuades him to go, Eita asks if she's going with her boyfriend. Surprised, Ai asks what he's talking about, and when Eita mentions Michel, she suddenly states that they've got plans for dates, but she'll be free for the event. Just then, Kaoru takes out 3 tickets and suggests they all go to see a movie the next day, so they agree. Afterwards, Eita hangs out with his club members, and Masuzu states that the movie is his chance to dig up dirt about Ai. When the others ask what she means, Masuzu explains that he has to make Ai fall for him so they can accuse her of cheating on her boyfriend. Eita then asks what they'd do if she doesn't have a boyfriend, and Masuzu reveals they can treat her like a puppet once she's in love. Just then, Eita says it's impossible to make Ai fall for him, while Masuzu expresses her disappointment in him. She then takes out his notebook and reads while he freaks out like he's been exorcised. This reminds Eita of the heartbreak event that broke his heart and made him rant in his journal. Just then, Masuzu announces that Chiwa will tag along with Ada on the date, while Hime will tell them to take damning pictures of Ai with Ada. However, Hime says she can't betray her love master like that. The next day, Eita meets up with Kaoru and Ai, who then complain about his lateness. Suddenly, Chiwa shows up and tries to send Eita to the Lord with a rod. Luckily, Eita dodges the attack while Kaoru asks Chiwa what she's doing there. Chiwa then pretends she's unaware of their presence and says she'd like to go see the movie with them. Meanwhile, Masuzu speaks to Chiwa through the communication device and tells her to act normally while watching them nearby. So, Kaoru decides to let Chiwa tag along, and as they walk together, Chiwa asks why Ai is the one paired with Eita, but Masuzu says that everything is going as planned. Soon after, Masuzu reminds Eita of his mission, but Eita states that even Tom Cruise can't pull it off. So Ai overhears this and asks what he means, but Eita quickly brushes it off. Shortly after, Ai asks Eita if he remembers anything from kindergarten, but Eita says that there is nothing worth talking about. When he notices that she looks offended, Eita asks if something is wrong, but Adi says it's nothing. After this, she asks what he thinks about her outfit, and when he compliments her look, she turns into a ketchup bottle and prepares to take off, but Eita stops her and walks normally like before. While they continue holding hands, Adi asks if he remembers them running together like that when they were younger, but Eita stares at her in what looks like a soap opera moment. Suddenly, Chiwa ruins the moment with a swing of her rod and comments on Ata's dodging skills. When Eita says she's acting weird, like she does when something is bothering her, and Ai comments that he seems to know Chiwa well. So Eita says it is because they are childhood friends, surprising Ai. Masuzu then orders Chiwa through the comms to stop interfering with the mission. Shortly afterward, they arrive at the movie theater, and while they sit to watch the movie, Masuzu tells Eita that he lacks game and tells him to get to work, raising Ai to stupor. But Eita complains that it is not as easy as she makes it sound and ends the call. Just then, the movie begins with a frightening scene showing a zombie, so Ai immediately grabs Eita, saying she is not scared. Not wanting to be left out, Chiwa grabs Eita's other hand and squeezes it tightly, while accusing him of cheating. As the movie continues, the storyline strangely mirrors Eida's weird love triangle. When Eita stands up to support her favorite character in the film, Chiwa argues against her and supports a different character. Meanwhile, Eita sits there in frustration, wondering why the ladies won't get along. Suddenly, Ai begins to tear up. Eita notices and asks if something is wrong, but she ignores him. Masuzu then notifies the club members that the mission has failed since they can't take pictures in the dark. Sometime later, Eita finds a notebook left behind in class, so he picks it up and, flipping through, he realizes that the owner is obsessed with some guy. Suddenly, Ai rushes back to the class, and when she finds the book with Eita, she says someone left it behind and offers to take it back to the owner. When she tries to snatch it from Eita, the book drops alongside some other books in his bag, so she quickly picks it up and bolts out of the class. Eita then realizes that she picked the wrong book and wonders what's up with her. When he reads through the book, he realizes it's filled with mushy experiences between the writer and her crush. Meanwhile, Adi settles somewhere quiet and, on opening the book, she realizes that she picked the wrong one. Just when Eita discovers that the book belongs to Ai and figures she's a fantasist just like him, she returns to the class and finds him reading the book. Seeing the murderous look on her face, Ada bolts, and she runs after him, claiming the book belongs to her brother. Afterwards, Eita runs into a closed end, and as Ai jumps to snatch the book from him, he opens a storeroom door and they both fall in. Embarrassed, Ai says she has no reason to live because she's just a fantasizing freak. While she expects him to laugh at her, she says he can't laugh at another person's fantasies, since he's just like her. To prove this, Eita starts acting out his fantasies, while Ai watches him, surprised. She then starts laughing so hard, and points out that his fantasies are just as lame as he is. Just then, Ai leans on him and thanks him for letting out his lame fantasies, just to make her feel better. She then asks that they stay there for a while, and asks Eita how much he has read from the book. In response, Eita says he only read the poems, so Ai requests her book, but when he hands it to her, Ai says that it's rumpled. Eita then apologizes and says he'll buy a new one. Hearing this, Ai asks if that's all he'll do, and so he asks what she wants, and she starts smiling mischievously. After school, Chiwa tells Eita that the fireworks festival is coming up, and asks him to take a break from reading and go with her and Hime. However, Eita says he won't be going, annoying Chiwa. The next day, when Eita prepares to head out, he hopes he makes it through the day alive. Soon after, he meets Ai, who's all dressed in her yukata, and she comments that his face cap doesn't suit him. Just then, Ai heads in the wrong direction, making Eita ask where she is headed. In response, Adi says she thought he would know where she's headed. After they walk for some time, Adi says he hasn't visited the area in years because he stopped going there as he grew older. As Ai gives Eita a tour of the area, the environment starts looking familiar to him. He then finds a small path and comments that the path should lead to a cedar tree. When he asks Ai how she knows about it, the sky lights up with fireworks, and Ai announces that the fireworks have started. Suddenly, Eita grabs Ai's hand and quickly pulls her down the path toward the tree. As they stand there, watching the fireworks together, Ai reveals that Eita himself was the one who discovered the spot and told her about it when they were younger. Shocked, Eita suddenly recalls that he used to be friends with Ai when he was younger. Ai then explains that she told Kaoru about their past, and Kaoru reluctantly agreed to help bring them together. She then reveals that she made it hard with her attitude, and points out that she's keeping one of Kaoru's secrets too. After this, Ai explains that her family moved away when she was young, and reveals that she recognized him immediately when she re-enrolled at the school, but, at the time, Chiwa had snatched her childhood friend. After pointing out that Eita's collection of girlfriends keeps increasing, Ai takes out a wrinkled piece of paper and hands it to him. On checking it, Eita asks what it is, so Adi explains that it is a marriage registration certificate they filled out when they were younger, and she reminds him that he once promised to stamp it. Just as Eita tries to deny this, he suddenly remembers the moment and gets tense as Ai leans closer to him. So she asks him to stamp the certificate, but Eita points out that she already has a boyfriend. At this point, Ai immediately confesses that the boyfriend story was a lie she made up to save herself from the embarrassment of telling the truth. Shocked, Eita can't believe she sold him a lie, so he says she must reveal everything to Masuzu and the others, but Ai refuses, saying she'd rather swim in a volcano. She then offers to dump her imaginary boyfriend if Eita agrees to marry her. However, Eita insists that he cannot forgive her for lying, and calls her a lovesick idiot before running away. Shortly after, Eita suddenly runs into Chiwa and Hime, who are returning from the fireworks festival. and Chiwa notices his face cap and says he looks suspicious, so she looks around, asking if Masuzu is hiding nearby. However, Eita says that he only stepped out to get some fresh air. Meanwhile, Ahi hides in a bush nearby and watches as Chiwa and Hime pull Eita away.
That's all for today, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Till next time.